So Rhode v. Becerra, also known as the California ammo ban case. We have an interesting update in this case, so let's talk about it. But real quick before we jump in this video, if you think that background checks to purchase ammunition violates the Second Amendment and is unconstitutional, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I want to give a big shout out to one of the main sponsors of the channel, and that is Franklin Armory. Franklin Armory has shown me and this channel a lot of support. They help to support what we do on this channel and spreading the word about the Second Amendment and also what California gun owners have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I cannot thank Franklin Armory enough for supporting this channel. So go over to their website, go over to their social media accounts, guys, and show them support. So thank you, Franklin Armory. So Rhode v. Becerra, a lot of you guys know this as California's ammo ban case or the Ammo Day case. This was a case that was originally before Judge Benitez in the Southern District of California. Judge Benitez, or Saint Benitez as we know him, issued a preliminary injunction on the various California statutory structures that required individuals to go through background checks or eligibility checks to purchase ammunition, as well as he put a preliminary injunction on the importation laws and regulations on ammunition. So for that one-day period of time, individuals in California were finally able to, once again, go online, purchase ammunition, and have that shipped directly to their door instead of having to go through an FFL and run an eligibility check or a background check for that purchase. That very day when Judge Benitez issued his preliminary injunction and actually denied the stay of the AG's office in his specific trial court level, the AG's office cried above to the Ninth Circuit and got an emergency stay put in order. So that's why that period of time only lasted for a day and why we call it Ammo Day. This case is now pending before the Ninth Circuit and is waiting for an three-judge panel review of Judge Benitez's order down below. And that three-judge panel review is set for November 9th, 2020. So it's coming up here pretty soon. We do not yet know who the judges on that panel will actually be, but we actually had an interesting update in this Rhode v. Becerra case. The interesting update in this Rhode v. Becerra case has to do with the court or the Ninth Circuit requesting that the parties file supplemental briefs specifically on one issue. And so I'll read to you what this actual order is. The order states that the parties are directed to file simultaneous supplemental briefs addressing in further detail whether there exists persuasive historical evidence establishing that the regulation at issue imposes prohibitions that fall outside the historical scope of the Second Amendment, citing Jackson v. the City and County of San Francisco. In other words, the parties are directed to respond to the district court's finding that, and then they quote Judge Benitez in his order, an ammunition background check has no historical pedigree, and they give the citation for that. And the briefs are not supposed to exceed 6,500 words, and they have 21 days to file those supplemental briefs. So why is this important? This is important because essentially the three-judge panel here, or the Ninth Circuit, is requesting additional supplemental briefs from the AG's office and as well as from our side in regards to this historical basis for types of regulations like this, specifically ammunition, background checks, eligibility checks like it is being challenged in this specific case. And specifically what the Ninth Circuit is quoting here on page 54 of Judge Benitez's order, he says that second, an ammunition background check has no historical pedigree. In fact, a background check required each time ammunition is purchased has never been implemented before. So Judge Benitez in his lower court decision said that there is no historical context or basis for the type of regulation that California has. And this is important for our side because it's going to be pretty easy for our side, like Judge Benitez said, to point to no historical basis for a regulation like this. California is a very progressive state, as many of you know, and so they are usually on the forefront of gun control laws. They are usually the first ones to institute laws like this. So there is no other historical context or basis for a regulation like this because California pretty much just dreamed this up one day and the legislators just decided to make this specific law out of nowhere. So really the AG's office is going to be hard pressed to find some sort of historical basis or long-standing historical regulation that supports what California is doing here. And so it could be the Ninth Circuit tipping their hand pretty early, requiring that the both sides file a supplemental brief on this specific historical issue. Now, I'm sure the AG's office is going to point to various other types of regulation that maybe might hit on ammunition, like magazine restrictions or other types of firearms regulations, but they're going to be hard pressed to find a specific law like what they have here requiring background checks for ammunition, because I'm not aware of any other state or federal law that requires background checks or eligibility checks for the purchasing of ammunition. And that's exactly what Judge Benitez said down below in granting our motion for preliminary injunction and saying that California's statutory structure is unconstitutional and violates the Second Amendment. And this issue of historical context, text, and history goes to a lot of cases that we are seeing right now heard in the Ninth Circuit. In Duncan v. Becerra, there was a lot of discussion about history, text, basis. In Young v. Hawaii, in the recent oral arguments, and also the three-judge panel decision in that specific case, there was a lot of historical conversation about whether there was types of regulations like this going all the way back to the founding of the Second Amendment, to the founding of our nation, even English doctrine, where there are regulations like this on the Second Amendment. So out of the Ninth Circuit, we're seeing a lot more emphasis on history, text, tradition, which is very unusual for the Ninth Circuit that tends to be very progressive and leaning liberal. They don't like to really look at things like that, specifically on the Second Amendment, mainly because when you look at the history, text, and tradition of the Second Amendment, of Second Amendment laws, regulations, it's very hard for California and other states to prove that regulations like this are indeed constitutional and don't violate the Second Amendment, because a lot of these laws just never existed until the 20th century and very recently. So this is definitely interesting that now the Ninth Circuit is requiring additional briefing on this specific issue, and we'll definitely keep an eye on this. Also, like I mentioned, the three-judge panel will be hearing oral arguments November 9th, 2020. We do not yet have the makeup of that panel, and so I'll probably do an update video when we know what exactly the judges will be on that panel, as well as we can maybe do a live stream for that specific case when the three-judge panel hears that. And if you'd be interested, go ahead and comment down below. And whether or not we do a live stream is really going to just depend on my general workflow and what I have going on at work. But if I can make it happen, I will definitely try to make it happen if you guys are interested in that. So if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to join the Patreon page, and I'll go ahead and put a link down below to the Patreon page. Also, just like, commenting, subscribing, and make sure you hit the notification bell, because that all helps the channel analytics, helps us spread the word about the Second Amendment, also helps spread the word about what's going on in California and the various actions that the state of California is doing to try and infringe on our Second Amendment rights here in the state. So as always, thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.